And Ove Möller started NordFrö, and he will present how a distributed network of small growers can revitalize regional seed sovereignty. Drawing on his experience initiating Sweden's only 100% Swedish-grown vegetable seed enterprise, he will share insights into how to structure collaboration among small-scale producers, maintain quality control, manage variability in seed production, and ensure economic viability. He will also discuss how regenerative practices, transparency, labeling origin, and a hub-and-spoke model help link local seed conservation to resilient community ecosystems. So please, Ove, share your screen. And again, now, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and then Judith will write them, and I will ask them to Ove.
Yes, hello everybody. I hope you're having a good evening. I surely am, because I love talking about seeds. And this upcoming session, I'm going to share with you the story behind NordFrö, how we came to start it and how we work. I thought it was an excellent presentation that you just read, so I could just basically show you the pictures and you can read that all over again. It sums it up very well. I don't know how many of you know the company, but this is how our seed packs look like. This is me on the right and my friend and colleague Linus, and we founded NordFrö about 5 to 6 years ago. And how we came about to found this company was because we've been growing seeds for 20 to 25 years. I've been a member of Föreningen Sesam for about 20 years before I started NordFrö. And when I grew seeds, I started slowly to fall in love with seeds. And I noticed for every year that I grew my seeds, how the quality of the seeds were so much better than any seed I could get my hands on from any seed company. And I also noticed that the seeds became more adapted to my place. So the quality kept increasing all the time. And then I thought, why not work with this? Because seeds is truly the love of my life. And what better than to work with that? So in 2019, we decided to start this company to be able to offer seeds grown in Sweden to the Swedish market. Because at that point, and basically at this point, there are very few seeds grown in Sweden that are sold in Sweden. So we started our company with the goal to partly to spread seed awareness, since we come from a sort of a non-profit background, an idealistic background. And we also want to produce and sell quality seeds. And the goal was also to revitalize the knowledge to grow seeds in Sweden, because it's all been just basically lost. If you're not talking about these organizations that Sesam and Kvann and Frösamlarna, there are very little production of seeds in Sweden. So we wanted to revitalize that again. But to start this presentation, to get it in its proper context, I would just like for a little while to talk about how seeds generally are produced and where seeds generally are produced. I'm sure most of you already know this, but the production of seeds is very detrimental to our environment. It's usually large-scale operations, very large corporations running these large-scale agriculture operations. This goes for conventional seed, but quite often also for organic seeds. So we decided this didn't feel very good to us. And then where seeds are produced. I don't know how many of you are aware of that the majority of the seeds sold in Sweden originate from China, India, parts of South America and Africa sometimes. They go through the Netherlands and are often stamped as seeds coming from Europe, and then they're sold in Sweden. And the seed business nowadays, it's more or less 4 big corporations or companies that control somewhere around 80% of the global seed market. This is an older representation of how these companies have an extreme amount of subsidiaries. It's the seed companies, it's chemical companies, it's big pharma companies, and all these are controlling the seed business. So we were not very happy about this. So we started to look into producing seeds in Sweden. And this is some of the challenges we see with seed production in Sweden. At this point, in the production, there is a lack of an infrastructure in Sweden. There are no very good means of producing seeds in Sweden. There's also the climate restrictions for consistent seed productions. We do live in a cold, kind of wet climate that is not ideal for seed production. We do have a fair amount of legal limitations for growing seeds, small-scale seeds in Sweden. When it comes to market, to selling the seeds, the cost of selling the seeds is quite high when you produce them in Sweden, and most customers are used to low prices. And there's also the greenwashing aspect of the market, of the general seed market. And that has to do with, it's very easy for any seed company to say that they're sustainable or small scale, or they have a lot of organic seeds. And that gives not a fair picture of how much seeds cost to produce. There are also different opportunities for seed production in Sweden. And this has a lot to do with democracy or seed sovereignty. If you start growing seeds in Sweden, you will take back the democracy, because seed, who controls the seed, controls the food. And if you have 4 large-scale companies controlling 80% of the seed market, then there's not much democracy to be found there. Another opportunity for growing seed in Sweden is we would have a local and national seed reliance or resilience, what I call preparedness. I don't know if that's the correct term, but if you're not able any longer to import seeds, then we're in a lot of trouble. If you grow seeds in Sweden, they will be locally adapted. As I told you before, the thing I notice in my garden, growing seed year after year, is that if you grow the seeds in Sweden, they will produce better vegetables and flowers in Sweden. Climate changes actually may be for the better sometimes, because I hear more and more that seeds coming from Southern Europe, for example, with very hot summers, the seeds will not have that kind of quality anymore, because it's too hot for the seeds. It's too hot for the flowers, for the pollen in the flowers. So the pollination will be worse off, and the quality of the seeds will be worse. growing seed in Sweden will also give the opportunity to have locally adapted small-scale structures, and that's what NordFrö is about. In the NordFrö, we have three, we call them, I don't know in English, but sustainabilities or resiliences, because we're working in three different areas. We're working with the environment, with the people, and with the economy, and we're trying to make a networkish kind of thing here. Because in NordFrö, we have about 25 to 30 growers associated to us, and we grow around 200 to 250 different cultivars. Not every year, but on the whole, that's the amount of cultivars we have. And we have what Louise called the on-farm conservation approach to that. That is, we try to grow a large variety of cultivars every year. So this is a little bit about how we have tried to manage the seed growing in Sweden. Because as an alternative to these large-scale international operations, we tried for very small scale in a networked kind of farming situation. We don't want to farm big places. We want to farm many small places. And I will come to the advantages with that. So we start talking about the environment. If you compare with the picture I showed you of large-scale farming, this is more what a typical NordFrö farm looks like. This is my old farm, the test farm and seed producing farm of the company, which we don't have access to anymore, unfortunately. But on this farm, and what we require of our network is something that we call regenerative farming. And regenerative farming is basically about leaving a place in better shape than it was when you found it. So every year you grow regenerative farming, you improve the soil and the place, you improve your biological diversity, you create through different means a living soil. And this living soil has better water retention and a better carbon sequestering. That's a big word for just saying that you build your carbon. You get more carbon in your soil every year. So this farm here is kind of like a blueprint, but not quite, because we ask of all our farmers to grow in some regenerative way. But since we don't claim that we have, we don't know what the best regenerative practice is, each of our 25 to 30 farmers can develop their own methods to try to, accumulate more knowledge and experience of this regenerative concept. What we usually require from our farmers is that they have a no-dig approach. They don't turn the soil, they don't plow, they don't use heavy equipment like that. And they will have to use cover crops and sheet mulching so that they build the micro life in the soil. Is that the word for it? We encourage them to plant perennials and flowers in the gardens, or on the farm, so the biological diversity gets better every year. I will show you briefly a few pictures from these farms, what it can look like. So this is parts of the farm with raised beds.
Vil du have lidt honning og citron i?
Pardon? Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry, Lisa, could you please turn off your mic?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Please go on, Ove.
Okay.
Sorry about this.
Here are some pictures of a normal day in the insect and flower beds. This looks to me quite different from the pictures I showed you in the beginning. And still we produce quite a bit of seeds on that farm. And the next level, or the next resiliency I'd like to talk about, is the people. Because the people, our farmers, are the backbone of our company. Sorry for the Swedish here, but this is a map of some of our growers. I don't have an updated on this one, but we are about 25 gardeners or farmers from Skåne in the south to about mid-Sweden somewhere. After the middle of Sweden, the climate tends to be too difficult to work with. On the back side of our seed packs, you can always see who grew the seeds in this particular seed pack. It's Gisela and Linus och Ove. Well, that's nice. I grew them myself. But we want our customers to always know who grew their seeds for them. So what we do in our network, we have, as I told you, about 25 farmers at this point. We usually have each farmer to grow between 5 and 10 crops every year, or 10 cultivars. That has a couple of different reasons. One reason is that we want our farmers to learn as many seed or varieties or cultivars. I forgot which is which here. We want them to learn as much as possible about seed farming, and therefore we have them grow a lot of different crops. Another reason for that is that if you in one given year have only one crop and you have a weather that is detrimental to growing that seed crop, you will lose your whole crop. So that's a kind of an insurance thing, that you grow several different crops that will deliver differently in one given year. And that has to do with you never know what weather you will get that summer, but by having 25 different farmers in different locations, we as a company will usually get a fair seed harvest every year, because we need to be resilient in that too, that we have a constant seed harvest to be able to sell it. And then we rotate the crops, so the next year a given farmer will have a couple of new crops to work with. So our company is about sharing knowledge to grow the seed crops. We have information that we share with our farmers, and our farmers share their information back with us and back with the network. Because the knowledge about growing seeds in Sweden, as I told you, is not very great. So, and you can find quite a bit of literature from other countries, but we need to know as much as possible about growing seeds in Sweden. It also is about sharing knowledge to process seeds, because growing seeds is one thing. To harvest and thresh and clean the seeds is one more thing. And we need to find small-scale models for cleaning the seed, for processing the seed. And all this we try to accumulate in our network and share it with as many as our farmers as we can. We are trying to mitigate the effects of climate and weather. And what I mean by that is the idea of spreading out the crops at different places in Sweden. We try to hedge for what kind of weather we have in any given summer. But also by growing seeds in Sweden, I think we slowly adapt them to the climate, the general climate we have up here. And hopefully, since we, of course, only work with open pollinated seed varieties, hopefully they change in accordance with how the climate changes. Maybe that's just a wish we have. I mean, whatever. Yeah. And seed production for our farmers will only be a part of their total revenues. That means that no farmer can rely on the proceeds from growing the seeds. We want our farmers to have several different revenue streams or income streams, because that will make them more resilient from year to year. And then we're trying to work out a system for how to compensate our farmers, especially when they fail when the harvest fails. Because if you spend a whole year growing a crop and you don't get paid for it, and you did your best, we try to compensate for that. It's not always working. We can't always we don't always find the money for that, but we try to compensate our farmers. So it is about sharing risks to the best extent possible, because we take risks with our business, and the farmers take risks with all their work, and we try to find different ways to share those risks and of course, hopefully to minimize the risks too. So that's our people perspective. And then I have a short one on economy, because we try to build a company and run a company that is rather resilient in the economy. And this is maybe a stretch, but I will try to explain one thing here. And this is about the production of any given good, any given product. That production will always have consequences. And all those consequences have a cost. Let's say that you have an industry that pollutes a river or pollutes a watershed. That cost will be there anyways, you know. I will try to, it's a bit hard to explain this. Maybe I'm not clear about it myself, but you can internalize costs in your production process. That means basically you pay now. You can externalize costs in your production process, which means you put the cost on someone else, but usually you pay later anyways. So when you externalize costs, the consequences of your production process or the costs, let's say you pollute a river, that cost will not be in the seed package. Let's say we have a seed package. And if you externalize the cost, the seed package, the price tag of the seed package will be a lot lower, because the externalized cost will be taken care of by someone else. Usually that someone else is our kids, our neighbor, or our society as a whole. So you pay for it anyways. But in the seed or the price tag of the seed is much lower. And what we do in NordFrö is we try to internalize all our costs. So as a customer of ours, you will pay the full price of all the consequences that our production process has. Hopefully, we avoid some of those consequences and some of those costs by having a regenerative farming practice and all of the things I told you earlier about NordFrö. The problem with this is that a lower price tag will be a signal that, or some people will want the cheapest possible seed. And if you externalize some costs, you will get a lower price and people will choose that kind of seed. The more cost you can externalize, the cheaper the seed becomes and the more seeds you will sell. So this is a challenge we have in NordFrö, that we try to internalize all our costs because it will have a higher price tag. And we are struggling with, I told you before about greenwashing of our competitors, but also we try to explain to our customers why they should pay the higher price tag of our seeds. I hope this wasn't too hard to get. And also, as I told you, we share the risks with our farmers in the network. So that's how we view the economy, or a bit there. And that's the whole of our company. We are beginning, or we have been working for 5-6 years, but we have a lot of more years ahead of us that we hope to explore all these 3 different sustainability areas. This is the best picture I have when I think about the work we do. This is the best picture I have, because we are basically building a new seed production infrastructure in Sweden, and we are doing it day by day, week by week, one rail at a time. And we hope in some years we will have a really good infrastructure, and we will be able to have a lot more seed growing going on in Sweden by our company or by any other company or any other organization. But we hope that we do the best we can to help out with the seed production. And to finish off, I would say a few words about what you can do when you leave this session tonight, or when you wake up tomorrow. What can you do about seed production in Sweden to help that? Hopefully you have a raised awareness of how seeds are produced at this point. You can keep studying it. You will take part of this next seminar, in this seminar series. I hope you will learn a lot about seeds. You can take the power back. With that, I mean, you can demand from your seed producer, where you usually buy your seeds, you can ask how the seeds are produced, where they are produced, and you can use the power you have to support a seed production you would like to see. I would strongly suggest you to become a member of either of these organizations, SESAM, Kvann, and Frösamlarna, in your respective countries. They do an amazing work. They have inspired me. Being a part of Föreningen SESAM has inspired me greatly. I hope you can share that perspective. And grow your own seed. You can start with maybe 1 tomato in a pot. You can learn about any kind of vegetable that you like, or flower or herb. I assure you that you will love your garden that much more. You will love to garden if you also grow the seeds, because you will get to know the full cycle of your vegetables, and that's an amazing thing. This is a documentary. I would like to make a really, really short newsflash about this documentary coming out on SVT Play in this fall. This is a documentary about the importance of seed. Watch it, please do. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Ove. We have actually one question that arrived at the end of your presentation, and it's not one question, but several, from Maria Svens from Sweden. So I don't know how much time we have for questions. Can I just go ahead and read them?
Yes, you can use 10 minutes and
Okay.
please a bit louder if you can mute it.
Okay, I will try. Thank you, Guri. So, first of all, she is really admired about your work, and we all are, I think. And her first question is she would like to know how it works in Sweden when you grow and sell seed commercially. How big an amount of the harvest do you have to send in to the authorities for testing and cultivar proofing, for example? And if you have to pay, for example, to Jordbruksverket per cultivar in order to be allowed to sell them. And then I will continue.
That's one aspect that we work with, because the system that Jordbruksverket what they have, it's very much oriented towards large companies with very large. Each cultivar they sell is a very large amount. So we have contact with Jordbruksverket. We pay the fees for controlling our company. We don't ship. We don't send in seed samples to them for testing. We test ourselves, and that's the way we go right now. Some of the costs from Jordbruksverket is really prohibitive, to put it mildly. So we work with also trying to change the way Jordbruksverket looks at these matters. So we have a constant, we're in constant connection with them, but we don't do the seed testing. We don't.
Okay, thank you. That was clear. And she's also curious about if there are any regulations, what kind of cultivars you can sell.
There are. And several other companies, among them NordFrö, don't adhere to all those limitations.
Okay.
We think that seeds are way more important than to have a seed variety. So we go for I don't know how to really to explain that, but we don't. They have the European Union have a seed. I don't know how this goes in English. I can't really. But no, we have varieties that are not approved by that we sell anyways.
I can help you with that a bit.
Yeah,
So
please.
yes, there are there are right now 12 directives in the EU that are regulating seed production and commercialization, and each country has adopted these directives in the way that fits best for their businesses and actors. And that's why I don't know exactly how it works in Sweden, because we don't have yet a central regulation, and our first webinar was about the regulation. So if you can get back and listen to those presentations, then you can understand a bit better the situation. So there is a regulation coming that will be much more uniform all over the EU countries. But indeed, what you said, that when you have cultivars that don't have any variety protection, then you are allowed to produce the seeds and commercialize them. But then, yeah, you have special regulations in each country. What do you have to report to the authorities, and how do you have to proceed with the production? And seed health regulation is a different regulation. Yeah, so there are many different regulations that are in place. But we have some other questions. Which costs have you defined that you are internalizing, that is coming from Charlotte Gross?
Well, I think one really big cost is growing in a regenerative way. It's a very costly, time-consuming way, but improving the soil, not having any kind of poison or oh, my head is kind of turning off right now. But I think that's a big part, how in the way we grow the crops. Farming is more expensive in Sweden in general. having a small scale operation with the seed harvesting and seed processing after the harvest is also a big cost, because we have to figure out a lot of things along the way. And that has to do with our building this infrastructure that I was talking about. So yeah, we think in several ways we have those costs internalized. We're far from done, but we're aiming for it. Does that answer your question better, or?
Yes, I see Charlotte has thumbs up, so I guess she
Okay,
got the
okay.
answer. Then,
Yeah.
well, I didn't check the time, but we have one more question from Alma. What is in NordFrö that NordFrö can do that Sesam can't do, and Sesam does it outside of the monetary system?
Okay. Yes, NordFrö came out of the idea that we wanted to have a larger seed production than Sesam has, because we wanted more people to be able to. Oh, this is hard. First of all, we wanted to be able to grow on recommended populations. That is, you would generally maybe grow between 100 and 200 carrots if you're going to have what we figure is a correct population, or maybe, and then you produce huge amount of seeds. And I think that's maybe above the scope of an organization. You can't require of your members to grow 200 carrots to seeds, but we wanted to be able to do that. And we also wanted, in order for this to be like a really networked production, we wanted people to be able to make money out of it. That is, they can work with it. Because when I was a member of Sesam, some years I offered maybe 40 different varieties or cultivars, that is. And after a while, I grew tired of it. And I was thinking about how can I keep on growing the seed season after season, year after year. And so we have tried to aim for having a long-term yeah. Does that answer it, or am I really unclear here? Because at this point we are growing, we're selling about between 40 and 50,000 packages of seeds every year, and but in about 2 years we aim for almost a double, and that amount of seed is maybe harder to arrange within an organization. I'm not sure. Sesam may very well share their opinion about this if you want to. But I see it different in size.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It looks like you answered the question, and I also like the answer. There is a lot of trick on how to maintain the diversity in cultivars, and then yeah, it's great that you can plant so many plants from one cultivar. And we have to move on. So I will give it back to Guri or Akiko with the breakout rooms, right?
Yes, thank you very much. So there will now be one breakout room before the last speaker, and then at the end we will not have a second breakout room, but we will have an open discussion session here in this main room. So just one breakout room. You have all suggested languages, I hope. If not, Akiko will need to guess which language you will get. And then you will be placed in breakout rooms. If you look at the chat, there is now a link where you can see questions that are topics for discussion, and also some places you can make notes. We ask that each group have a note taker, but of course everyone is welcome to write in some notes into the document. You will see that there are the questions. Let me read them so that you have them fresh in your memory. So we would like to identify potential shared conservation initiatives across the Nordic countries, and of course African initiatives. Other countries are also very warmly welcome to see how